Welcome to Real Feels, the podcast that invites people to be public with their private persona. In a world where we are constantly redefining what it means to be a man, I'd like to take some time to find out who we are, who we aim to be, and the space in between. I'm your host, Brad Gage. Dustin Milligan is a man very in touch with his masculinity. And if you caught him recently as one of the winners on RuPaul's Celebrity Drag Race, you'd see he's clearly in touch with his femininity just as much. You may know Dustin from TV shows like Schitt's Creek or Silicon Valley, but the guy I know above all is one who genuinely looks at the impact his life is making. And a dude who is filled to the brim with puns. You can see the proof on his hilarious Instagram account. Dustin sat down with me several months ago, right after he had shot Drag Race, to talk about why he had to cut out cannabis after 15 years, how he sees our society's relationship to social media, and why listening is the best thing men can do right now in the wake of Me Too. It's deep, it's funny, it's a lot of things, and I'm so grateful he took some time to be with me in this moment. I want to ask you, what are your intentions with today's chat?
I have a multi-pronged attack.
I like that.
First and foremost, I am such a fan of yours, not only personally, but that aside, I'm a fan of you professionally. And as our relationship has gone thus far, may end after tonight, supporting each other in what we do in our endeavors is something that I believe very strongly in. So I'm here in one part to support you, but also because we had a lunch, month and a half ago now, and
Time flies.
Yeah, and
when we're not together,
and we. Which is also when we're having fun. We started speaking about a lot of development and I think a lot of sort of introspective things that we, unbeknownst to each other, had both been working through and are still processing. And it's important to me to talk about it out loud. Mm-hmm. It helps me to gain greater clarity on where I'm at in my life to say these things out loud.
Yeah.
So this is entirely selfless and entirely selfish at the same time.
It's the yin and yang. You're in fucking perfect balance right now, as far as guests go on my show. What drives you to be a creative person? Why do you like making things?
I'm gonna go for the sincere answer here because my first reaction is like, I love attention.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's. I'm sure that's not a little bit of it.
Yeah, no, but
nice.
As a kid, as a really young kid, I was blessed to have not only just my parents, but I have sort of a unusual family dynamic, which sort of resulted in having several parents and parental figures, sort of a small community raising my sister and I. And all of them were weird and funny. And not always in a way that sort of is easily understood or accessible to a lot of people. But, you know, as we know about our family, like you get these people and you understand.
It's your weird.
Yeah.
There's an ownership over it.
And there was always an encouragement and enthusiasm for both my sister and I to be creative, because I think my parents understood immediately from a very young age that it made us happy, and that was one thing that our parents, all of us millennials, that's probably why we all turned out this way, is because our parents were like, just do whatever makes you happy. Huge mistake telling us that, but I believed that message my entire life, and having your intrinsic value acknowledged at a very young age, which is something that I was blessed to have had for as long and as far back as I can remember. And that is what has always not only initially sparked the drive for me to decide, like, I want to make people laugh. I want to create things. but also has sustained that drive through the highs and several long-lasting and low lows.
Yeah. Those are fun, though. When you hit a low, do you have practices? Do you have self-talk that gets you out of it? Or does it just happen? Or do you just keep plugging away and it just goes away? How do you deal with those moments?
You know, it's something that has evolved for me for a very long time. Something that you know about me is that I smoked marijuana for 15 years every day.
When you told me you stopped, it was like,
yeah,
cool.
So the reaction I always get, people are like, wow. And then they're just like, are you okay? Like, by not smoking weed anymore? And that was a big thing for it too. It's like when I realized how intertwined marijuana was with my identity in other people's eyes, that was such a heartbreaking thing.
Oh, yeah. That kind of shocked you that people had that reaction?
It did, yeah. It was an interesting thing. And I, again, I'll use this term, blessed, because we haven't heard that enough in this generation, right?
If you mean it, here's the thing. You can be ironic about it, or you can be like, you can take back the power of the word.
Yeah. I was powerfully blessed by an event where essentially smoking weed put me in the hospital. And it was the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life. And I lost 15 pounds in 8 days in the hospital.
Yeah.
Even with insurance, it cost me over $5,000. I believe wholeheartedly it was the universe giving me an opportunity to close the book on that part of my life, because and this is to answer your initial question, because I was using it in a way that I never acknowledged it this way. I never was comfortable acknowledging it really as an addiction like I interpreted other addictions. But that's the thing about addiction is that
if you admit it's addiction, then
you don't get to decide, like, because I would always, and I have addict friends and I've had addict friends and like, they've got track marks, on their arms, or, they're coke heads or something like that. And or they're
that's
drunks.
An addict,
and
right?
It's so easy to point at that and
one,
just be like, oh yes, of course they have a problem. And then there I was, with it. I was never like stoned at work or anything like that. Like I had my shit together.
Yeah.
But then like all I was thinking about at the end of the day was like, oh man, I can't wait to just go get high. And then when I wasn't working, I would be high all day. And I was totally functional. Everyone knew me. As I said, everyone knew me like that. And I could do anything stoned and it wasn't a problem. And again, all these sort of rationalizations. I had quit for I went to Europe to shoot some things, and I had quit for 3 months, 4 months when I went there.
So you're not an addict. You can turn off whatever
which
you
is
want.
Again, it's such a common thing, where you can dry out, and then that means you don't have a problem. And again, so it took me a very long time, and not until this event that put me in the hospital where I was actually able to say all those things were bullshit, and that voice in your head every time you rolled a joint or packed a bowl and were about to smoke that told you hey, why is it that you're doing this? What is this that's going on? And me, this is a big thing that I actually only was able to articulate it quite recently. But when I would hear that voice and I would be I'd sort of acknowledge it and then still smoke weed. And then I would always say I should slow down. I should stop this. Tomorrow I'm gonna figure it out, and the thing that I was addicted to more so than weed was promising myself that tomorrow I was gonna be better. So I was using weed for a very long time as this thing that I thought wasn't a problem, but it was sort of fog, this smoke hanging over me that was keeping me from feeling the highs as high as I could be, and then the lows as low as I could be. So that was something for a very long time, not in a healthy way. I know you were looking for something that people could take away from, but that was something for a very long time that I used.
Absolutely.
And so even during that, though, it wasn't really that helpful. Surprise, surprise. And so I had to kind of figure out a lot of other things. I've done and still do Transcendental Meditation, which
Was
works.
that new? Did you start doing that?
That was something I did like 6 or 7 years ago, and have not really maintained like the twice a day sort of practice that you're supposed to maintain. But it's meditation. Do it when you want, how you want to do it.
Right. There are no real rules except for just being try to be consistent and quiet your mind best you can. Well, tell me about Transcendental, because the meditation I do, I don't really know what you would call it. It's just I take time to connect with myself and spirit. People hear that all the time. That's like the kind of meditation that people know. But what is it? What does it mean, transcendental meditation?
My mother was, growing up, was kind of spiritual, not necessarily religious, but spiritual. My dad is like a physicist and a mathematician. He's got that mind. So there's always this kind of, but he's also like very philosophical at the same time. He's not like some hard ass like scientist bro.
I would guess he would have to be. I think you look at science for that long and you go, there's stuff we don't know about.
Yeah, that's just it. It's like the more you explore, the more you're just like, wow, there's too much here for it to just be crunching numbers.
Right.
But so I had those two things always with me. But I say all this to say that I am very cynical about pseudoscience, and especially in the way that anytime I'm being told by someone, especially in LA, like, hey, you should try this out, it's based on neuroscience. I'm just like, okay, fuck off with that. Like, it's based on neuroscience. Like, you can just say the word neuroscience and like 19 people sign up. Like, I know that sort of trick. And so this is apparently based in neuroscience, and I believe the way it's kind of designed is that there's a spiritual side effect to physically focusing on breath. You are given a personalized mantra that you are to recite quietly in your head and never speak aloud to anyone ever.
Nice. Because that will kind of release the power of it. I mean,
yeah. I looked online on it, on like all the different mantras, and it's like when you look at transcendental mantras, there's actually like a list of like 30 mantras that everybody gets. So it's kind of like,
which is, but
they tell you not to look it up too, and I did that. Sure. But it's just like,
but it does make sense. It's like, well, there's not that many that would be super useful. 30 makes sense,
right? And this is all to say is like, I acknowledge that I can be cynical and jaded about some of this stuff sometimes, but I also find transcendental meditation, which is the only meditation I really know, so I can't really compare it to anything else. But I found that it has greatly helped me in a lot of ways, and there is a transcendence effect when you really are able to do it, where you're flying in your mind, seeing colors. You feel like a million pounds and completely weightless at the same time. Like, there is something incredible that happens, and when you come out of it, especially if you've been practicing regularly for a long time, you really do feel a difference.
Yeah.
You know, how much of that is sort of the placebo effect and just being excited that you're doing something for yourself. I don't know. I also don't know how relevant that is. Does it even matter? I think people
relevant
having hope.
To who?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All that matters, the great thing about meditation, does it work for you?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to work for anybody else in the whole world.
Yeah.
And and spending the time for yourself, because how often otherwise do you give yourself permission? Maybe you're better at this than most. It took me a long time. How often do you give yourself permission to just do something for you and no one else, and not for show, and not to share, and it's just to be with you, because you can, you're a friend to yourself. You're
my best friend.
They're your best friend.
Yeah.
I think we've been adapted to think it's cheeseball or something, but like, you're all you fucking got, really. You have other people, but in the end, you are all you have. And so
born
give
alone
yourself
and die
that time.
alone.
Yeah.
And you live alone. You can share that with someone else, but yeah, we're all in this alone together.
But that's cool, because there isn't any other way to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be leaning on each other. It just wouldn't work any other way. So that's
cool.
And
I think that's what I love about it is growing up, I spent a lot of time alone, a lot of like play. I had friends and stuff like that, but I also spent a lot of time like just playing all by myself, making shit all by myself.
Did you talk to yourself? When you're playing, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I still do. And this actually goes back to another tool that I have. Just to finish that up,
yeah,
though,
sure.
I do believe that's super important. That is ultimately, I think, one of the greatest things about meditation is, as you said, it forces you to, if you never have before, or in my case, if you had in the past but have felt you had lost the connection to that, to yourself, which was something I literally told my guru, yogi, mentor, whatever you call them in the world of TM. And that's something I told him. He's like, what are you trying to get out of this? And I was like, I want to connect to my creative 5-year-old self, because I feel like there's something that he understood that I can't quite articulate anymore and I can't quite understand. And I want to get back to that. And oddly, the meditation, I don't think really helped me do that specifically, but it did help me reconnect and redevelop a relationship with my internal self, which I think is incredibly important for everyone to have, however you do it, meditation or not. Even if it's just sitting, going for a walk, sitting while you're doing dishes and just thinking to yourself, not about the day, not about fighting with people in your head. My God, that takes up so much of my time. But yeah, just having your own thoughts about things.
That person inside you, who are they? Who are you? How would you describe the person in there?
They are hopeful, naive idealists in, I believe, one of the healthiest ways that you can be those things, and like not in a sort of disparaging way. But when I think about, when my job is causing me a lot of frustration, or I'm just feel stuck or lost, or my personal life or whatever, if I'm really able to kind of filter out all the superficial elements of whatever it is that's bothering me at any one given time, and I'm able to just kind of look at what it is that's bothering me, it's that in my heart of hearts, who I am is someone who is just now and always has been hoping for the best, and naively wishes that people around them would also kind of understand that. And I don't know, I just feel like everyone, and of course this makes sense given where the world is right now, but the older I get, the more I just look around and just think everybody is so afraid. They're just afraid of losing the identity that they have built upon themselves based on something they think they're supposed to be or supposed to want out of their life. And I'm the same way. I'm terrified of things constantly. And it's hard to kind of shake that. But I do feel that especially lately, that I've been able to shake that, and the weight lifted off my shoulders as a result of that. I really am speaking about this last year of my life. The weight that's been lifted off my shoulders as a result of that, it's incredible. You never really realize how much you're holding yourself back, how much you're keeping yourself
carrying so
much. And suppressing just all these old ideas that aren't even your ideas about what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to behave. They're not even your They're rules that you think you're supposed to be playing by that no one actually ever told you have to do.
The adaptations. You've adapted to all of these things that you saw someone do, and then you think you should. It's a lot of shoulds. A lot of shoulds. And you just take them all on. And it's nice to go to refine that. I mean, that's our kind of cycle. When you're young, you're connected. Ram Dass, the author, do you know Ram Dass? He's a spiritual leader. He's been around. He was at Harvard with Timothy Leary doing the tests with acid. He was
cool.
It is cool. I mean, so he has this new movie where he talks about our whole lives is like we're taught to be a person, to be somebody. You got to be somebody. You got to be somebody. So you're just like, okay, maybe I'm this type of person. Maybe I'm this type of person, and you just forget that you were already a type of person.
Just wanted to take a quick pause here to thank you so much for listening and watching, and to let you know that this podcast dives deep into the topics of masculinity, gender issues, and who we really are every week. If you like this chat with Dustin, then please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you will get I promise, more podcasts that keep providing a safe spot to talk about what really matters most in our lives. Okay, just had to get that out there. Now, back to Dustin. I mean, you are someone I very much enjoy on Instagram. You're very funny. You put some work into it and you make some funny stuff, but you also put work into it just for giggles, and you're not out there taking shirtless photos, and you've kind of taken a break recently-ish.
It's just this thing where I stopped wondering or even thinking about, oh, should I post? Or like, I never have any nagging thing of like, I'm never looking for something to post anymore, except for Family Feud, which I have recorded on my DVR, and I skim through like 5 episodes a day, basically looking for a moment when somebody dances. But it's actually something that I wrestle with quite a bit, because those videos are something that I spend 4 to 7 hours on. Yeah. I have a very specific way of editing them where I film them on my phone. I edit them on this like clunky editing thing on my phone. Yeah. And then once the video is done, then I import it into my editing program on my computer and turn it into a meme format, and then I export it again, and it's like this whole thing. But I love it so much. I've loved editing and like working with video since I was very, very young, since I was like 13. And I also love making weird shit. Yeah. And there's nothing in my life that is weirder than those videos that I make, those Steve Harvey videos. But it is something that I've had
Shaved by the Bell.
Oh, Shaved by the Bell. Yeah, that was another one. Yeah. And then
Shaved by the Bell.
Shaved. Yeah.
I rarely kind of shill much on this podcast, but I watched it, I think 2 days ago in preparation. And that's the only joke, folks. It's just change it. You had to shave for a role.
I had to shave for just an audition, actually, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that thing where it's like growing up, I was always like, oh, I can't wait to be a man. Can't wait to be a man. And then when I finally was able to grow a beard, now every time that I have to shave it, I'm always just like, oh, but I'm a man now. Like, you want me to go back? And so there's another video on there that was sort of the precursor to this that I made 2 years ago called The Wonder Beard, which was the first time that I sort of decided to document and honor the beard.
You have reverence for your follicles.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because like at first I wasn't really sure about it, but after a while it really started to grow on me. But I all those videos and stuff like that, I grapple with it because I had to really check in with this idea of like, okay, I'm making these things, they're making me laugh, but I do want to put them out there because this is something that I am weirdly proud of, which I think, as much as I hate social media, what I do think it's a great thing for, if you really are careful with it, is that you get to show your perspective on things. And that doesn't mean that you just like chime in on every single issue that comes out and like say, this is what I think about this. And it doesn't mean that you post photos of yourself and then say, this is me thinking about pizza, which I'm like guilty of doing a version of that.
Right. And it's like a really hot
and you're just
photo
like, and it's just like, why you're doing that. And again, you're being told, as an actor, I'm being told by, not directly by my team, but like, if you have a social media following, maybe it helps, blah, blah, blah. They also say, though, probably not, it doesn't matter, who gives a shit. But like, it's always kind of out there, you know what I mean? And there's that social pressure to sort of engage in this thing because everyone's doing it. And so I really grapple with it because I judge people quite harshly who engage in that behavior, in a way that I know is just indicative of them feeling sad about themselves. Right. And so it's a tricky thing for me because I love making those videos and I do post them because I want people to see them. I want people to see them, and there is ego involved in that. I've had to reconcile with myself like, yeah, but I am a performer. This is what I love. Yeah. I love an audience. I know that there's ego involved in that.
Yeah, but
I think that's okay.
There's a levity going on in your work that's not.
I love that we're calling it my work.
It is. I mean, it is.
No, I agree,
you're putting
man.
seven,
I put a
8
lot of
hours
time
into this
it,
thing.
yeah.
I get it. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is really stupid. I made a video where I set the music of Creed to the trailer for Creed. It was just like I had to do it.
So good.
I had to do
You
it.
had to. Yeah, no, and that's, you know what, that's an interesting
And
thing.
that took a day.
Yeah, and it's Shaved by the Bell took an entire day to film. You know what I mean? Because it's like you have to like do all the the fucking like the shavings. You have to film all the shavings, and you have to do the outfit changes, and you got to set it up, and it's like, and then that entire day to film, and then another full day to probably edit it all, and like I had to learn how to do a bunch of mask edits and stuff like that in order to, because I just took the actual Saved by the Bell intro and just like put my own images over it. But I had to learn how to do that. So I was like teaching myself how to do it. But again, to me, one of the most valuable experiences I've had on social media was creating that thing. And then, yeah, it's great that people like it, but I've been really mindful to put it up and to, you know, I'm interested to see how many people are responding to it, but to disengage with putting any worth or value on that beyond simply, I created a thing, I created it for an audience responded, I can leave it alone.
Right. You're not reaching for some greater glory. You're not trying to sell a TV show off of a web video. You're providing a little window into your mind.
Which is, this is what I was saying earlier. Sorry to interrupt, but this is what I was saying earlier. Like Instagram, when it started out, that's what it used to be. It used to be like, this is my lens. This is what I see.
Yes.
And as we all are very aware, that lens got turned around because of selfie culture and because of, I don't know, blame the Kardashians. Well, I don't
we
care.
saw selfies just happen.
Yeah. No, and again, that's the thing that's crazy is when you have that perspective on it. And it's not everybody's perspective. I'm not saying it's the right perspective, but when you have the perspective on selfie culture and you just look at like, I don't see anyone who posts a selfie. So it got wrapped up in this very admirable and I think wonderful movement about mental health, about confidence, about anti-bullying, about I'm allowed to celebrate myself, celebrate all forms of beauty, et cetera, which are great messages. But it got turned into, I'm going to post this photo. All my friends are going to like it every time I post a photo of my face. And then I'm going to like it every time they post a photo of their face. And we all are going to engage in this, frankly, circle jerk-esque kind of cycle where we're all just really happy that we're posting photos of each other. And it's like, I like... Some people, you can tell, they're like genuinely using it as like a photo album of their life, and that's fine. But we all know these people, and we all know hundreds of these people who are using it as a way to scream into the void, I exist, somebody see me, please, please, please. Which is an instinct that I appreciate and I also feel, but it is a hollow request and it is a hollow response. And I believe that we are on the way out of it. I believe that we're already now, and it's not just because there are conversations like this and sort of people, there's a lot of articles about it and everything. People are really talking about it from a psychological standpoint. And I don't think it's just because of that. I think it's because people in general are just kind of sick and tired of feeling like you have to do that. That you have to keep up some social media presence for some reason.
If you give yourself a second to feel how you feel when you want to post, you realize that you're treating it like a job. And when you're in that machine, when you're in that like, I got to post phase. And you are an unpaid worker providing entertainment for other people so that people who own these platforms, these websites, can make money. I mean, Bo Burnham was the one who said how genius it is that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they just created a platform and then has everybody entertain each other and they don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And they make all the money off of it. Mm-hmm. And so they're not monoliths. You don't need to participate in them. And they are, exactly, empty. It's a feedback loop of emptiness. And I haven't heard a lot about people rejecting it as much. I've seeing more people lean into it. I'm just hoping that we realize that you can feed yourself a little more with people.
I just also think too, like, I appreciate so much content online, but like content, not just people's face. Like I don't give
Ideas.
a shit about just whatever. Like there's just so much dumb shit I love about the internet and social media, and there is so much again of this sort of like self-focused, self-indulgent content. I feel like that I have to sift through to get to the actual real content, the real stuff, which is, there's lovely political messages that I ideals that I've learned about and discovered through Instagram, activism, and there's just so much that is there and is great, and it just is such a bummer that all of us, while that's going on, all of us are engaging at the exact same time in this as you said, like this sort of endless feedback loop of just like looking hot, girl, or like, whoa, bro. Hit the gym some more. Just kidding. You look ripped. That's a specific one.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of it's.
I also understand
I get
too,
it.
like there's so many like underrepresented and underseen groups, communities of people where it's like, fuck yeah, let's see your face. Let's see what you look like. Fuck yeah, you are beautiful. You do deserve this. But it's for everyone, no matter who you are. It really does, I think, does require and does need just some thought, some filter before
discipline.
And you just are posting it all the time. And so anyway, this is all to say that I do engage in social media sporadically. I've never felt better than when I deleted the apps off my phone. I probably once every 2 days download the apps again and like look at something and then I delete it again. And it's just that thing where I no longer have the ability to pick up my phone and check and pick up my phone and check and pick up my phone and check, because even though I have all these ideas and am so aware of what I don't want to participate in and don't want to see on social media, there is still the mechanical addiction to technology, to your phone, to access, to not being bored anymore. And I think, to bring it back around to taking time for yourself and to just be sitting in your own thoughts and to develop a relationship with yourself, I think it is impossible to do that if you're constantly picking up this thing because you're afraid to be by yourself. You're afraid of who you are without the validation of this world that, as we said before, doesn't actually exist, the internet, social media. And I think that I, again, am blessed that I've had this education to have asked the question why, and to ask according to whom, and to have, I don't know how much bravery it really takes, but just to be able to make the choice and be like, actually, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I actually don't.
So much power in that, because it is an addiction too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're facing it and taking your power back from it.
I mean, you hope so. I think it's...
I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
Doing this show, I'm back. I was on it really way less. Inspired myself. I got inspired myself. I got inspired to do the show. And now I'm on it all the time because I'm posting about the show and my poetry. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And so it's a new thing.
I'm liking the poetry, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's different. I'm not engaging in it with the same way. It's not about like faces of me and like I'm not like I have to post every day type of thing. But it is interesting. It sucks you back in because there's not a lot of other options presented to us to reach a wider audience sometimes. And so it's figuring out those ways, and that is the next wonderful challenge.
But here's the thing though, and just to play devil's advocate here, because I'm a real fucker like that. How otherwise would you be able to gain the audience that you want to gain?
How otherwise could I gain the audience?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or else I'd be doing it. Working with a publicist? I don't know.
No, it's just interesting
Word of mouth.
because it's like, it's that thing where, again, it's the system that exists that, there are people profiting off of it that aren't us, certainly not us.
I paid for ads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and it's also unquestionably detrimental to our mental health and like physically our necks and shit.
Yeah.
And it's a system that is in place, and it is now so many layers deep that you can't do the thing that you want to do without engaging in the system completely. That's something to really take a look at. Like, so, and here I'm on the thing talking about it, but it's like, do you actually want to engage in that at all? Are you still caught in the hamster wheel? It's just your hamster wheel is over there and it's painted a little bit different, but you're still in this like giant fucking cage with all the other hamsters. You know what I mean?
It's a lovely question. And that's your why. Most important question for sure.
It's the why.
The why.
Yeah. But I mean, look,
you're
man,
right. You're right. I need to look other places because I cannot just do this way.
Well, it's interesting because
at least to see.
I love though, like I love what you're doing here because it is an opportunity to, I think, very gently. This has been lovely. Engage in people in an earnest way, which I think is so wonderful because everything I had seen before of you online, which I'm a huge fan of, all your stuff on YouTube, it's like very broadly comedic. It's very like I just think so big and bright and funny and energetic. And I've seen you on stage and it's the same thing. Like it's very, I don't want to say it's like not a part of you, but it's like there's a persona of sorts there. There's sort of a character of Brad the performer that comes up, which I am a huge fan of. And I love that you've taken this opportunity to now diversify. But yeah, this is a question that I'm asking of myself as well. Is like, I love making these weird fucking videos on social media, and I love that people respond to them. My favorite response of all being not "this is funny" or "you should be like show more photos of yourself," but particularly the response of people who don't get it, who just straight up don't understand it. I love that's if there's anything that I like still am checking for, it's like the comments of people don't get it. But I say all this just because it's like I too am in this place where I'm like, yeah, I see this for what it is, and what it is not totally healthy for me, and yet I still am engaging in it. Why is that? And is there some other way that isn't just like I can still do the thing, but over here, but rather like, do I have to walk away from the thing altogether?
Yeah.
Big scary question. I don't know.
It is. Yeah. And I don't know either because there's such a community. There is a community of human beings, even though it's not real. There's a lot happening, and not just like FOMO or something, but like you could be helping someone. I mean, you're giving someone a laugh. So it's like, well, that's a very tempting thing. And also, be able to just do that to someone in an instant.
And you are like me, no shame in it. You like having an audience.
Well, yeah, that's why we're performers.
Yeah.
That's part of why we're a performer. Yeah, no, that's a lovely question, and I don't know the answer to it, but
me neither. Man.
It's a good one.
think I do know the answer. The answer is that I'm in this until I'm dead. But.
Yeah. You were talking before about how much you wanted to be a man. As a kid, and you're like, oh, you got the beard and all this stuff. What does it mean to you to be a man nowadays?
Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of cis het white men talk about this and answer that question.
Yeah.
And my jaded hatred for woke hipsters gives me like a knee-jerk reaction to that thing because look, I think a lot like you, like where I have definitely been affected in a negative way in my early upbringing by toxic masculinity. But I'm realizing more and more now that it doesn't matter what I think being a man is. What matters is that I'm paying attention to what women are asking for of men, what underrepresented, underprivileged communities are asking for of white men, LGBTQIA+, any community, any person of color, like what they're asking for the entitled white man to be and how we should be behaving. I don't think it really matters what I think. I think we should just be looking to see what they're saying and just try to listen, because it's just like, I think we all kind of know now. I think we know by now. And if we don't, we just need to listen, because everyone's been screaming it for hundreds of years. It's like that thing that I was saying about addiction, right? Where it's like, it's so easy to point at other people who are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to understand the subtlety and nuance of your own version of what it is that you're doing wrong. And guaranteed, all of us, especially as like white guys, we've been doing it wrong for sure. Maybe not in the most heinous, kind of outwardly destructive, aggressive, violent, offensive way, but somehow, probably in some small way every single day, there's something that we could probably be taking a look at, examining, checking in with, and adjusting a little bit. And the first step to doing that is to just listen. And again, a lot of that I picked up on from like social media activism accounts that I follow on Instagram and stuff. And it's just these little reminders of just like...
It wouldn't have happened. I mean, it was a hashtag me too. I mean, like that. Yeah. And now it's the most important thing of our lifetime, kind of our kind of generation.
I don't know. I feel like there's like 19 of them.
There's a lot of them. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I agree though. Yeah.
It's a whole half the population.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember, this is a crazy thing. Like I still think about this. Do you remember the Ferguson shit? Like the Ferguson riots?
Yeah.
That happened in like what, 2014? 14, I think. Like that, yeah. And it's like, that wasn't that long ago. And that was like civil rights fucking riots that were going on. Like that was a callback to the 60s, and then it's like it's gone.
It's tough to qualify what is the most important. That's true.
Yeah, no, but it's just like, again, that, and then like the Me Too stuff and the Women's March, and then it's just what's going on with reproductive. It's just wild, like that. There's just so many things that, again, as white men, we all thought was fine, taken care of. It's no problem. Look, we wrote the laws, and it's all good. And then as soon as somebody saw a little opening to go in there and sort of crack it open, and again, all these people have been screaming these messages to us the entire time, and dumbass white guys were like, yeah, we got it, we got to figure it out.
I mean, it's just it's a denial of the fact that we are all the same. It's a denial of the fact that no one is actually any different from you, and that's based out of fear and protecting what you have. And I think social media, the internet, it is radicalizing empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And
how wild is that?
And I do think the younger generation, people talk about millennials, all this stuff. It's like, well, they're the ones who are going to kind of equalize society as far as like how we feel about each other.
I mean, let's fucking hope so.
I believe that. That is my strong belief. My maybe naive belief, but it is my strong belief, because I think kids seem a lot more inclusive now.
Yeah.
Because it's cool to be inclusive, which is how you have to do it. You got to make it cool. So I think so. We're getting better, and then they'll be better too.
It's wild out there, man. It's disheartening. It's heartbreaking. But I like you, I still do have hope.
Yeah, because that's what's inside of you. The little hopeful guy. I love the little hopeful Dustin in there. Goofing around, rapping, and being very hopeful.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing.
I'm glad he showed up today.
Hey man, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting my heart.
Yeah. Well, how does it feel? How does your heart feel?
It's good. I'm feeling a bit of anxiety about speaking so openly about so many things, and it's because of all these ideas of what you're supposed to, in my case as an actor, what you're supposed to be, and sort of pleasing everybody, and not that I said anything offensive.
No, pretty much everything you said was coming out of a place of love, so I feel really good about it.
Great, man.
If that's helpful.
I was fishing, so thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for doing this, and I love you, man. I really do.
You too, man. My absolute pleasure.